So given that SmackDown is tomorrow as I am recording this, let's put a bow on the WrestleMania 41 coverage by going through the whole damn thing and giving it some kind of a ranking. Some people call it a review, some people call it a star rating, but remember, there's no sort of authority of any of this because everybody's going to enjoy things differently, which is why we do start on day one of match number 1, Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And listen, this is why it gets very interesting because it all depends what you want from wrestling. I would give it a B+. What does that even mean? Well, essentially, look, I love the finish, I love the ending, I understand I'm the outlier here, but I enjoy things that I can absolutely tap into in terms of the overall narrative that I've seen. Because Jey Uso tapped out Gunther using the choke, because that is what Gunther had done when he tried to kill Jimmy Uso. So it was like poetic revenge, if that is a thing. Like if you wrote it in a book, you'd be like, oh my gosh, that's such powerful stuff. Listen, I understand. Some people didn't like the fact that Gunther would do something like that, but he's a heel. He's a bad guy. I'm going to use this analogy till the cows come home. It would be like watching Aladdin and getting to the end of Aladdin and being like, man, I can't believe Jafar didn't turn around and just shoot Aladdin right in the skull. Now listen, that version of Aladdin would probably be very funny, but I doubt anyone is ever going to make it unless you go on like the dark web or something. And I went back and watched all the matches again. I don't want to say the match is fine, because that sounds really disparaging, but obviously the fun of it is the first time that you see it, hoping that Jey Uso is going to win. He then does win. The crowd is really, really happy. Out comes Jimmy Uso, and you have that moment too. And again, there is a reason they did it that way. I also like the fact that Gunther he doesn't run away. It's a bit strong. But after Jey Uso had cut that promo on him on Raw, and he was like, man, I'm going to ring your mother, ring my mother, ring everybody's mother, it kind of chipped away at Gunther's confidence a little bit. And yes, if you want to be a super nerd, you can go back to the Ilya Dragunov feud, which I know was entirely different, but still, you could make the argument that Gunther's weak point is falling into his own submission, which sounds dumb, but wrestling by its very nature is dumb. So I just love the fact that Jey Uso is a champion. We've talked about this time and time again. It's the kind of wrestling world I want to exist in. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to my other comparison, another Rusev will come along, and Rusev Day will be massively popular, and he will get told when he walks through the curtain, oh, it's just a bit of an accident, it's a bit of a fluke. That's dumb, man. This is way better. New Day versus the War Raiders kind of fits into the same category in the sense it doesn't really have much rewatchability. It's actually a very decent match. Again, this is why I like going back and watching things outside of the context of WrestleMania, because it's a very, very good, very, very fun tag team match. But there are other issues here, right, that you do have to bring into the equation, because New Day should have won this like 4 months ago after they did that incredible heel turn, and they just don't cheat enough for me. That sounds weird as well. This kind of should have tapped into the fact that they are super duper whooper assholes now. And it's awesome that they are the Raw Tag Team Champions, but again, this is the other reason I think it is important to go and watch matches a week or so afterwards. The follow-up on Raw was brilliant and not brilliant, actually ties into Rusev again, because I'm so happy he got injected into this, but I really want the New Day to get involved in a proper feud, and actually not necessarily with the Alpha Academy. I don't think that's the right team, but this goes for a bigger problem across WWE. We need a more depth to the WWE Tag Team division. I don't know why I said that like an Italian. We need a more depth, but I'm sure Italians feel the same way. So I gave this one a C, and again, it's an A to F system. While some people have said, oh man, you could have done this on Raw, well, we didn't do it on Raw. That's like saying Batman game wouldn't be good if Batman wasn't in it. Batman is 100% in the game. But I think if we use C as sort of like a average mark, although that's not really true either. But I love the New Day winning. There was some really fun and some really, I don't want to say innovative, that's a bit strong, but just some really well thought out spots and moments in this. But again, I don't think many people are going to have it live long in the memory, just because you know that New Day should have won it way before this. And also, yes, we just waited way too long after that awesome heel turn, but they're still very good teams. And I hope the WWE does more with them and a bunch of other duos. Otherwise, what the flub are we going to do? Jade Cargill versus Naomi, I'm giving a B+, because I just love this match. I love this feud. My only issue with it is that Naomi didn't win. I think Naomi should have won. I think when somebody does do a super duper whooping make a heel turn, they should get the victory, much like John Cena did. Although again, I'm 24 hours away from SmackDown. Maybe WWE is going to address this. But I don't know. There's so many little things, right? Sometimes it's not really just about the match that you're watching. I loved Naomi's entrance with her brand new music, which has gone full on metal. I love her approach. I love her costume. I love her gear. I love the fact that Jade Cargill went out and hired a famous weatherman to pretend that when she does arrive in the arena, you get a literal storm, which doesn't make any sense. I love that reverse powerbomb at the end, which did lead to the Jaded. There were just so many individual little things that stood out to me, and actually this probably is something that I would go back watch time and time again. If WWE can stick the landing and there's more to this feud, or we're going to do something big with Jade, or we're going to do something big with Naomi, then once more this is going to have more power in its legs when you go back to it. So as it turns out, I like this match even more than I did when I watched it live in the stadium, And I'm just a fan of Naomi, I guess, or bad guy Naomi. I like good guy Naomi, but bad guy Naomi has gone up the ladder by quite a different degree, which I'm very surprised about. But I actually think this is pretty damn good. Now, obviously, when you grade something, it's always in proxy to everything else. So if all of a sudden you started comparing this to sort of the best WrestleManias, it would go down. But comparison is the thief of joy. I think when you do go on a review or a rating rant, you should compare it to everything else that you're seeing that now, at least how it made you feel, right? So it's an arbitrary number, like I say. It doesn't actually mean anything. But for whatever reason, B+ felt the right thing. Jacob Fatu versus LA Knight for the US title is getting an A-. I just think this is a great match. I think they get the crowd. And I think this does tick the magic WrestleMania levels or whatever you want to call it. Like, I think the thing with night one is so many people are like, oh, it's a Raw match, it's a Raw match. I don't think anybody was saying that about LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. You got the big title change, which is going to be massive for Jacob down the line because he is going to become a massive star. LA Knight continues to prove that he's a big game player. You put him on a major stage and that guy will just hit home run after home run. And I mean, there's just that BFT when Jacob Fatu went to do the moonsault. I think they executed this so well, nobody actually felt like the loser. Like, LA Knight can come out on SmackDown and sort of carry on whatever he has at the moment, and Jacob Fatu obviously can send himself up to the moon. And it's just, they work really well together. That's why I hope the feud actually continues. I don't know if the Bloodline's going to get involved in this, because there's rumors today that Tama Tonga may be injured and needs surgery. And if that is the case, I hope he's okay, because that's the worst thing ever. But if that does leave Solo Sikoa all by himself, maybe you do go into the Jacob Fatu feud. Maybe LA Knight can be inserted into that too. I do not know. But brilliant, really good. I thought it was amazing when I watched it in the stadium and went back and watched it again. There are elements that I actually missed. And of course, it's really cool that people are into Jacob Fatu and they were into LA Knight. It was like a reverse of John Cena, Cody Rhodes, when everybody just wanted to boo. I think there was a very, what's the word I'm looking for? But this idea that we weren't 100% on who was going to win and who we really wanted to win. Because I think if LA Knight got the victory, loads of people would have been pleased about that too. So this just ticked loads of boxes and the build was okay. But it was when we got to the actual day, they went out there and they showed out. I think it's one of the best matches of the weekend. El Grande versus Rey Fenix is interesting because as the work is really good. I use the word solid, which also sounds bad, but I don't mean it to. But it kind of lacks the emotional pull that you would want. Now, of course, Rey Mysterio falling out so quickly is going to be a huge reason for that. I hope he's okay. Apparently he's torn his groin, I should say. I don't know what a joint is. And Rey Fenix being in there is awesome. Again, what an amazing few weeks he's had. But losing so close to his debut, the El Grande Americano character has kind of lost a little bit of whatever it is for me, because again, I've heard wider conversations and I kind of agree with them. I like the metal mask thing. I think it will lead to a mask versus mask match. So again, if Rey Fenix is the guy to beat him eventually and go, haha, is Chad Gable, that will probably improve it a little bit. But I don't know. Like, I was watching it going, well, clearly Chad Gable, if it's him, is super talented. Rey Fenix is super talented. They're doing things that I could never even dream of doing. Well, that's not true, because we can all dream whatever we want to dream. Just close your eyes and fade away in your brain. But I don't know. It's an intangible thing, right? You can't always describe it. And I think if you were going to grade it just on how I connected with it, you would give it a C. But that's massively unfair because, again, some of the stuff they were doing is really, really good. And the reverse 450 spinny smash thing, whatever the hell that El Grande Americano did, is absolutely ridiculous. I've forgotten what I said now. B- I think is fair. I think you could probably grade it higher than that. Just don't think I'm ever going to watch it again. Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair is also impossible to grade. I'm going to give it a B+. It's almost an A category for me because, my gosh, they kicked the absolute shit out of each other. Now, the build was bad, man. The build was not good. And all those wishy-washy promos we did, we're like, is it a work? Is it a shoot? If you intend to do that, fine, but I think this one went off the rails. But to sit down and agent it or sort of structure a match where you can go, I really think these two hate each other, is pretty damn impressive. And I keep using this word, but again, it's the only word that's in my brain. I'm massively jet lagged right now. The sloppiness makes it even better. I can't explain why. Not everything is something you can write down on a piece of paper, but it feels like a fight. It feels scrappy. It feels all over the place, and I'm a huge fan of it. And actually, I probably will watch this again. I kind of think we should end the feud now. I think Tiffany Stratton won so clean, so Charlotte can go in a different direction, and Tiffany should go in another direction because I don't think they're good for each other. But in terms of sitting down with something and going, that is what professional wrestling can be, Charlotte versus Tiffany ticks a lot of boxes because wrestling can be whatever you want. They could have gone out there with a kangaroo and said, oh, the kangaroo's a referee. And it would have been dumb, but you go, all right, I suppose we can do it. It is sports entertainment. So going the approach of just roughing it up and making it really dirty and horrible, it's incredibly watchable. And it is like watching a car wreck, but not everything has to be super smooth. As long as I am entertained and as long as I am intrigued, well, you did your job. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk versus Roman Reigns for the love of Paul Heyman in the Night 1 main event. What did I get forgotten already? I've whacked an A on it. I think this is brilliant. I think it is doubly excellent too, because you are going to want to go back and watch it, because not only does it have the awesome you hit a finisher, I hit a finisher, near fall, 1, 2, ooh, but the twist at the end is something that we'll always go back to. Like, there are times I wake up and I'm like, I want to see The Rock go heel at Survivor Series 1998. I want to see the Steve Austin one at WrestleMania 2001. There'll be other things that I'm not thinking of right now. Sometimes I even watch the finger poke of doom, and that one is bad. This one wasn't bad. It was brilliant. And the crescendo towards the end when it goes Heyman's with Punk, Heyman's with Roman. Oh, no, big surprise. Heyman's with Seth Rollins. I mean, if this group that Seth and Heyman are now creating can sort of get to the level they want to, it would be even better. So it starts off slow, but that doesn't matter because they know where you were going. You have all the amazing entrances, especially CM Punk's, which really underlines the fact it is his first main event. You have the tragedy, and even though Seth Rollins is meant to have doing a heel turn, I think deep down in our tum-tums, we all like, yes, Seth deserves this, because he absolutely does. So I never doubted it anyway, but for those that go, oh, the Night 1 isn't a real main event, well, it's a real main event to me, because it's probably better than, I don't like comparing, but if you were going to say what felt more like a main event in terms of the Saturday or Sunday, well, this one probably wins it. It's very, very good. And we move on to Night 2, and the first match was for the Women's Championship, which was Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. We don't need to stand on ceremony here, Mr. Wayne. It gets an A+. It was the best match of the weekend. I really do think they're three of the best wrestlers in WWE. And while it feels like we're going to Io versus Rhea, eventually we need to go back to all kind of variations of this, because my gosh, do they work well together. I really don't have much to say about it. Watching it back on TV was even better than it was in the stadium, because you see different things, you're close to the action, you get the commentary, and you get the atmosphere. Some of the near falls, the stuff they do off the ropes, and some of the risks that they took. Apparently Bianca Belair hurt her hand, and she does really fall on it at one stage. But this is an excellent match, and yes, now that I have been able to rewatch it, I'm not going to say nothing ever comes close, because other things are good for different reasons. But in terms of a bell-to-bell match where they made that championship mean something, and all showed out to go, oh yeah, you don't think I'm a good wrestler? Well, I'll show you, is absolutely phenomenal. And of course, it's even better still, because the build to this one too was a little bit wibbly-wobbly. It was all over the place, but I just knew deep down in my Tootsie Toes they would go out there and absolutely deliver. This is brilliant. And if you haven't watched any WrestleMania matches and you only want to pick one, this is the one that you should pick. It's not even close. Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest in the Sin City Street Fight is also just a really fun street fight, right? It's a really good hardcore match. I'm giving it a B+. It does kind of fall into the category of are you ever going to watch it again? Maybe the claimer at the end, which is absolutely horrific. But actually, it's the entrance which wins out here. Damian Priest's entrance with Kerry King from Slayer is so damn cool. And I understand it speaks to me more because I'm a big metal fan. But yeah, like it's definitely not a bad match. In fact, it's a very, very good match. It's a very, very watchable match. And the first three matches of Night 2 or Day 2, whatever the hell we're calling it, really make you go, oh, well, we're in WrestleMania mode now. But once you've seen two big guys kind of smash each other together, in a year's time, are you going to want to do that again? Maybe. Depends what you're doing. Maybe if you're on some kind of a plane. So it does kind of sit in this weird situation where, yeah, at the time, totally brilliant. They work really well together as well. And Drew McIntyre winning, I think, is going to be good for the storylines. But it doesn't really have much replayability, which sounds more horrible than I mean it to. But I think a B+ is fair. Again, you can't pick holes in this. They didn't do anything wrong, but I just feel like it's the culmination of a feud, and now these two guys can go off in a different direction. I'm intrigued to see what we do with Damian Priest, because while this wasn't a cut and dry win, Drew McIntyre did kind of feel like, yeah, I've slayed you, and now what you're going to do, or is it slain? I think it's slain. I've slain you. Either way, really, really good match. If you've never watched it and you want to watch it the first time, you should. After that, probably not. Dominic Mysterio versus Penta versus Bron Breakker versus Finn Balor is also going to get an A. And a huge reason for that is the finish, right? Again, this is why wrestling is so great. You can have a mess of a match, which this wasn't. But if you did have a mess of a match, then you get an amazing finish. Nobody cares. All you remember is the entrances, and you remember what happened at the 1, 2, 3. And we absolutely got that. Probably with the biggest pop of the weekend for Dominic Mysterio. And my gosh, has he earned that. But it was just a great four-way. And it didn't really fall into there's two guys in the ring, two guys on the outside of the ring. One guy gets in and we kind of do a switcheroo. They were coming up with really cool double team spots, mostly by Bron Breakker, who just wanted to do all the double team moves. But even the finish was like, I hit you off the ropes, you hit me off the ropes, somebody else is here, oh my gosh, Canadian Destroyer, then I'm going to kick you, and then whoop, bam, similar bum, all these kind of things. It just was so interesting to watch. I do believe, it's hard for me to say this now because again I've watched it for a second time, but I do believe it does a great job in keeping you on your toes, not knowing who is going to win. You knew the finish was going to involve Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio, but that could have been them costing each other, that could have been Penta sneaking in, or it could have been Bron Breakker retaining. Now Bron Breakker is so damn good in this. I think he may have been the MVP despite everybody else, and that's of credit to him because everybody else is absolutely carrying their end of the bag. But I think what adds to it is knowing that in 48 hours or 24 hours, whatever the flub it was, he was about to sort of take that next step up to the main event level, sort of, in the Seth Rollins group. And that makes it even more intriguing. But yes, the reaction for Dom running back, the fact it does tie into a story too. We didn't just do this for the sake of doing it. It is going to be the end of the Judgment Day. I was a big fan of this. It's really, really good. And another reason why, if you were going to compare, even though I think comparison is the thief of joy, as I keep saying, Day 2, probably better. Joe Hendry versus Randy Orton. I'm just going to whack a B+ on it. This is why I don't often do things like this, but I like talking about WrestleMania, so I thought it was a nice way to sort of justify it. You can give it anything from an A to an F. I mean, why'd you give it an F? I don't know. For me personally, this was the most special moment of the weekend, because obviously I know Joe. I've been lucky enough to work Joe in a wrestling match. Joe's been very, very nice to me, and we have conversations. So to see him sort of manifest all of this, I mean, when that music hit, I've told you this already, I was stunned. I was shocked because I couldn't believe it. I was like, it can't be. How has he been able to do this? He's like a magician. But getting to see him work Randy Orton, I guess the big conversation we should have now, because my gosh, it's ever on social media, is, oh my gosh, we squashed the TNA World Champion. That's just not how I see professional wrestling. I mean, WWE has a whole documentary series coming up soon, so they're going to tell you about the writing of the shows. So let's not pretend that kayfabe is still alive, although, by the way, that show will still be produced. Have you watched reality TV? None of it is real. So I am much more into the moments, I'm much more into the human side, and I'm much more into how I feel about something. And I don't care the match was short. I don't care that Joe was the TNA champion. I just loved seeing him get a massive reaction from 60,000 people. I loved all the little meme things that Randy Orton was doing. He did the spin. And when Joe Hendry turned around and then got RK'd out of nowhere, it was just fun. And I don't think it hurts the TNA world champion. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of, oh, they wouldn't have put Rusev there because Rusev is one of their guys. Well, maybe that's true. But I know if somebody rang me up tomorrow and said, Simon, would you like this spot? I would probably kill a man. Just stab him and then take the consequences later. It's a WrestleMania moment. And while WWE has taken that term and thrown it into the ground and made it way too cheesy, much like pointing at the sign, good is good. And anything that makes me feel this way cannot be bad. So I've whacked an arbitrary, there's that word again, B+ on it, but it's special and it's awesome. And it's going to make Joe Hendry's career, which he totally deserves. And apparently the rumor is that Randy Orton asked, oh, maybe it could be Joe Hendry. How can you be mad at that? Just because a fictional title may have lost a little bit of credence, even though it didn't. At no point did I think, oh my gosh, the TNA World Championship means nothing now. It genuinely didn't enter my brain once, because again, I'm just sitting there wanting to have fun, and my gosh, this was pure Cyndi Lauper. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul, I'm going to give a C-. It's just not for me. AJ Styles, I think, is one of the best wrestlers of all time. I think without him, we wouldn't have wrestling as it is today. That's how heavy I think his impact was. But I'm not allowed to say this on the internet because people yell at me, because AJ Styles is one of my favorite wrestlers, and I don't really care about Logan Paul from a professional wrestling point of view. They go, oh, you don't understand. AJ Styles was trying to put over the new guy. I'm not talking about politics or backstage nonsense. I'm talking about surface level wrestling. I wanted my favorite to win, and I wanted my non-favorite to lose. I've talked about Logan Paul many here on my channel in other videos that we've done. I don't particularly enjoy the things that he has done as a human being, but I'm having to shift that across, because otherwise I'm going to have to apply that logic to every single wrestler. My gosh, these videos will be 4 hours long, and he is very talented and he is very athletic, and given what he's been able to achieve in such a short amount of time is very, very impressive. But I wanted AJ Styles to win. I didn't really get into this match. I thought it felt flat. The Karrion Kross stuff was very interesting, and the good thing is we've now pivoted to that feud, and I'm more excited about it. I don't understand why Logan Paul's manager just turns up at all these shows and other matches he does, but luckily that tied into the Karrion Kross thing, which I did think WWE followed up very well on Raw. But I'm just not connecting with Logan Paul as the professional wrestler at the moment, which is not me saying he's not skilled or good. I just mean I mean this in a literal sense, not in a horrible, I don't care about you. I'm just not care about his matches, right? I'm not invested in them. And when that does happen, look, I'm not taking away from the work. Again, they did some very, very cool things, but I didn't really want to watch it then. I especially didn't want to watch it twice, so I'm giving it a C-. Lana and Becky versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, I gave a C+ too. I actually saw this more after the heel turn on Monday night and everything that other people had said. Didn't really catch it live in the building. It is very much just the crowd waiting for Becky Lynch. They don't really care about anything else, which I do understand because it was a surprise, but it does take away something to it. Although now that we do know the whole plan, you could probably whack it up a few notches, because Becky Lynch turning heel and finally doing a proper feud with Lyra Valkyria for the Intercontinental title, I think will help everybody. Do feel a little bit disappointed that WWE did that to Bayley, but that kind of feels like another story we need to see wait and played out. Just feels tough missing WrestleMania, but I don't feel like I have all the details. But this really is, and I get it, right? She's a massive star. You do this for anybody else, so why wouldn't you do it for Becky Lynch? But this really is more of a let's wave a fag for Becky Lynch and get everybody excited, because we know we're going bad guy in 24 hours. So it was the right thing to do. It 100% was, but it does make it more of an angle match, like I say, more of a story match, more of a program match. I also was a bit annoyed that Liv and Raquel lost the belts, but then they won them back again, because there is the argument, Lana and Becky have never teamed together before, and Liv and Raquel are now established. How would they be able to defeat the tag team champions? But I think in terms of a 48-hour tale, we did the right job, but it kind of serves its purpose to give you a couple of moments on WrestleMania and on Raw. So when you actually look at the sort of crutch and the core of the match, I don't really think you need to worry about it again. Main event, night 2. The last thing we'll talk about today, which is John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. I don't know what to tell you. Now, listen, it's disappointing The Rock wasn't there. The Rock should have been there. I understand that there's lots of conversations about this at the moment, but if I was going to write a story from the Elimination Chamber of what happened to WrestleMania, I expected Travis Scott and I expected The Rock. I don't really know what's going on, but I do think that affected what we did here. I just do. The finish could be saved, but we'll get to that in just 1 second. But talking about the crutch of the match, I think I'm in the minority here. I don't hate it, man. In fact, I quite like it for numerous reasons. First of all, when Cody and John do look at each other, the crowd goes mad. They're so into this. They see it as a superstar match. I really like the idea that Cody is able to out-wrestle him to begin with, which is why I personally would have had John Cena turn heel on this show, because the story was looking at you right in the face. Cody Rhodes out-wrestles John Cena. John Cena hits all of his AAs. Cody keeps kicking out. He gets out the STFU. So eventually, John's like, well, I do have this terrible singles record, which I have talked about the last few weeks or last few months. I'm just going to cheat. I'm going to use Tea in the turnbuckle. I'm going to use the title. I'm going to whoop him in the balls. And that's right, because I'm so desperate to become the 17-time world champion, I shall do the one thing I've never done and become a villain. And that's how I will slay Cody Rhodes. I also think the kick in the balls and the title shot then at the end, which was a little bit weird in hindsight, would have been awesome, because people would have been more focused on the fact that John Cena did turn heel. I love John Cena's bad guy offense, which is punch, stop, double axe handle, punch, stop, double axe handle. Some people have said he was only doing that because he's not able to do anything else. I think that's too early to say. I need to see how he works against Randy Orton and CM Punk and whoever else he is going to fight. But I am very entertained by this. And look, the atmosphere counts for sure. That adds something to it. John Cena's facials and just calling spots really loud counts. Cody Rhodes is selling, which is very underrated that nobody talks about. But then it does fall apart when Travis Scott comes out. It just goes so weird. And the finish did not come across as intended, because it made Cody look dumb at the moment. Because obviously he's going to hit John Cena with the belt. He changes his mind. So John Cena whacks him in the balls, hits him with the belt, 1, 2, 3. On ups and downs, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling and subscribe to me. I remember hitting the AA. And that's why you should always go through your notes before you do those shows, because you can trick yourself. But it's difficult, because if the rematch is in December and it's Cody Rhodes finally using the belt, and he's like, well, you did this to me, 6-7 months ago, so now I'm getting my revenge. That's not the worst story in the world. But on the night, it fell flat because people thought The Rock was going to come out. Rightly, wrongly, it doesn't matter. That's not what I'm talking about. People had that expectation, and it was a fair expectation, because I had it too. So I've given it a B. Now, some people are like, it's too high. I can't believe you have done that. But I did take a lot of enjoyment from this. Again, John Cena's bad guy offense, hilarious. Cody Rhodes just in general making me laugh. The fans booing everybody in this is just fun. So I'm not saying, because some people are always so boring, I'm not saying that it's not boring for you. I'm saying I have taken little things from this, that I watched it as a whole piece. I was entertained. Maybe a B- is more fair. But Travis Scott coming out is not good, right? Listen to me. Travis Scott coming out and doing what he did is not good. But sometimes you get things that are so bad, you just enjoy them. I'm laughing my ass off, especially second time around, because it's so, maybe I've enjoyed this for the wrong reasons, right? But it's so obvious the fans think that Travis Scott is The Rock. And why wasn't The Rock there? You'll never be able to justify it in any way. And now it's become a spot of fun for me. Maybe more of a C+, a B-, but I do not think it's the worst main event in history. There's too much atmosphere, there's too much fun, and I remember some proper, terrible ones from back in the day. I mean, even a Triple H versus Chris Jericho, that's actually a decent match in terms of what they do in the ring, but they don't have the crowd because they're exhausted from The Rock and Hulk Hogan. Here you do not have that, right? The crowd is totally into it, and as I've learned, if the crowd can stay up and they have their energy, I can find a way to connect what's happening on the screen. And I do like John Cena winning it as a bad guy than walking up the ramp with the belt the wrong way round, but I didn't feel this way on Sunday, because I sat there going, you know what I'm going to say, where the flub is The Rock. So it is a complete mad show of a main event, and I think it probably ties into the fact there was probably the left hand not talking to the right hand and some creative differences. That's okay. That's professional wrestling. That's life. That's the world that we do live in. I think a C+ is probably more fair, but I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's a disaster. And actually, to be a hypocrite compared to what else I said during this video, I likely will watch it again. Now, of course, you're not going to agree with any of those, but that's why you drop me a comment below and let me know what you would give these on an A to F rating. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen to get my reviews of WrestleManias and my overview overall reaction to the weekend. Otherwise, it is goodonmine.com/Simon. Use code Simon, get 10% off. All these supplements, I use them. They're great. Simon316 on social media. Simon Miller on Cameo. If you would like a personalized video message, Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Big Cartel and Pro Wrestling Tees for all my merchandise. There is a link down there. Now, if anything, I need to get out of this room because it's 100 degrees. It's way too hot. I will see you soon.